Welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 85, recorded on Friday, March 13th, 2020. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the news.
Wow, what a week we have, Tyler. It is crazy. More news came out of Zoho in the last week than I think I've seen in the last 3 weeks combined. Well, I guess with everybody working from home, it just makes them more productive. I can't figure out what it is, but
That must be
man, they
it.
had a lot of announcements this week. So let's just jump straight into the news here. So first of all, Zoho has rolled out a new product called Remotely. The new suite of products actually includes Cliq and Meeting and Showtime and WorkDrive and Projects and Sprints and Lens and Writer and Sheet and Show, and they're giving it away for free until June 30th of this year. This is for people who are being forced to work from home due to COVID-19. They can now try this out. It's a interesting marketing ploy, but at the same time, I think it's actually quite a compelling bundle. I don't know why Connect's not in there, but it's pretty good. Got a lot of applications in there. No idea what the price is going to be after June 30th.
Yeah, that'll be kind of the interesting thing to see, when they do announce that, because they did release their kind of Office suite competitor, right, which has all of the writer, the sheet, the show. It's got Zoho Meeting, I believe, WorkDrive, Cliq, and Connect in that one, and that's basically their point-for-point competitor with like a G Suite. Right, so it'll be kind of interesting to see where they see Remotely fitting in to the whole kind of product mix. They've got all these different bundles. Sometimes it's hard to keep them all straight. But I mean, looking at this though, I mean, this has basically everything you would need to replicate all of your standard Office functions remotely. And as with all of Zoho's applications, each of these is fully cloud-based, right? So you can log in from absolutely anywhere and get the job done. I think it's cool. We talked about it a little bit last week, but nice to see them kind of fully announcing it and starting to market it a little bit.
Yeah, and then really pushing Zoho Meeting and Zoho Showtime as well. I mean, that's interesting, by the way. We are going to be doing our next webinar coming up here in 2 weeks using Zoho Showtime instead of Zoho Meeting, and they kind of have them lumped together in here. And there's look, and there's also this whole new Zoho Lens, which is their augmented reality help service for technicians using cell phones and 3D and markup language. I've yet to play with it yet, but it is actually part of Zoho One. So it's one of those really cool little features that they've come out with, allowing you to have someone go with their phone in real time, do a video with somebody. You're able to mark it up what they're seeing on their screen as you telling them where to point and what to do. It's quite unique. So that is a perfect remote working tool. So it's pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, lots of good stuff in there. I could see even Zoho Assist getting a lot of usage, right? At a lot of companies are even suggesting if you are on premise for work and you need to have a meeting with someone, do it with Zoom or do it remotely, right? I see that kind of coming out of a lot of companies. So with something like IT support, being able to just remote in with Assist is going to be a lot safer.
Yep. And let's move on to our next story here, which is we got some updates for Zoho CRM. And it's kind of interesting. You can now execute lead conversion mapping in a sandbox, and you can attach files from Zoho WorkDrive. So we've kind of had this for a while, at least the attached files from Zoho WorkDrive part. But now they've kind of rolled it out, and this whole process of replacing docs inside the CRM with WorkDrive is now kind of in full swing.
It seems just like another step towards the phasing out of docs. Interesting though, they didn't have lead conversion mapping in the sandbox previously. So I guess you would have had to basically push everything live and then map all of your lead conversion. That's definitely nice to have in the sandbox. I mean, we generally end up not using the sandbox for a lot of our development just because of issues when you actually do push it live. It adds a lot more time kind of fixing the things that break. So nice to see a kind of big item there, because lead conversion is really important. It's nice to see that where you can actually build it out inside of the sandbox.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we don't use it that much, so I guess we never noticed it. That's kind of it. But hey, this next one is pretty big. So Zoho Sign is now integrated with Box. And I have to say, this is a super nice integration. This is not Zoho, by the way. I mean, I think Zoho built this, but this integration lives over on Box. So it's in the Box App Store and in the app gallery, they call it. But they've done super nice. So if you're using Box, you've got documents, you can now basically within a few clicks take any document that's in your Box folder, send it for signature, get it back, store it in the Box drive. So very, very nice integration. Don't talk much about Box. There's so many of these competitors out there between Dropbox and Google Drive and Microsoft's answer for all. There's all of these different ones, but Box evidently is one of the bigger ones that are out there. I have not used it in a very, very long time, but I know we do have a lot of clients that use it.
Yeah, it is really popular. And even one of our developers, David, actually did a Zoho Sign to Box integration, except he kind of built it from the ground up, just actually calling it through the API. So what he does is he actually will create a folder inside of Box and write the signed document into there. So the process kind of works how it would, when you're sending out a signed document through the CRM, right? It kind of is creating the Box folder for you. So it's kind of like doing it from the other direction, but could still be really nice if you're creating and kind of collaborating on all these documents in Box, and then you want to send one out for signature. It's basically just a few clicks away.
All right, let's move on. So Zoho Notebook got some interesting updates. This is one of those applications that I use sometimes, and it seems like they're making more and more little changes to it. So they took the spelling and grammar checkers they're in all of their other applications, and they now put it into Notebook. It didn't have those before, so when you're writing your notes, they're actually going to be grammatically correct for you and check your spelling while you're doing it. And then they've added some sketch abilities so that you can put in. And then they've got some nifty new integrations with Zoho Connect and Google Drive and some other things. And you can also send like an individual note to Google Drive as a document. Kind of nice. I don't know if you've found with the Notebook or not. It's been going after Evernote. It's OneNote for Microsoft. Slowly but surely, they seem to be making more changes to it. They also have some nifty little Google Chrome extensions for annotations, so you can take things and clip them and add them to Notebook. I kind of use it as more of a web clipper and an image saver kind of thing. You can just right click and drop it to Notebook. So it's got some nice features that way.
Yeah, I mean, the UI is also great in there. I remember it was a couple weeks back we talked about someone who basically did a side by side of Notebook versus Apple's equivalent product, right? And the UI just looks absolutely beautiful. We're just both still waiting on a CRM integration for us, basically being able to write a note from Notebook into, let's say, a deal or a contact, right? To be able to just quickly store it there as a related list. It's kind of the last little thing that I would love to see, right? For kind of meeting notes or general kind of thought
That's it.
process recording,
That's
right? Just kind of drop it on
That's
there.
that's the one. That's the one. You can attach the note now to Google Drive. Well, let's take it that next step and just attach it directly into the CRM. So, all righty. And then moving on, we have some more news, a lot more news. If it's March, that means it's a new set of updates to Zoho's Financial Suite. We actually missed these. These dropped last Friday, right after we recorded the show. They started kind of slowly releasing the financial updates. Going through them though, not a lot like there are in previous months. In previous months, you'll look at, you get books and invoice and subscriptions and inventory, and usually there are 3 or 4 commonalities between a lot of them. It's not really so this month. The number one, there's just not a lot of updates in here. And number two, not a lot of crossover, and they only had books and invoice. Those are the only 2 updates I've seen so far that have come out. But they're really building on this ability to quickly and easily have uh, bank statements imported into books for you. So they could read PDFs before, and now they're expanding on that. They'll read CSV files, they'll read QIF files, which are QuickBooks formats. There's a whole bunch of different file formats that they're supporting for basically you can email your statement, auto forward your statement directly into Zoho Books, and it'll go ahead and import it into your bank account for you. I don't know if there's anything else you saw of interest.
Nothing really big. I mean, they've added a couple little quality of life improvements. One that stood out a little was you've always been able to mark that you received payment on an invoice without receiving it, right? But now they're letting you just determine how you received that payment. So you could say I received it via cash or check or all these different ways that might not show up digitally. It's just a nice little improvement there if you do kind of want to track how the different payment modes are coming through. That just previously wasn't there and is kind of a nice to have, but it isn't a transformative change or anything huge.
Yeah, and one of the things that came out this morning, you'll notice on the beginning of the show today, we said recorded on Friday, March 13th. We always record this show on Friday, but we, in the past, have always said for Monday. The show is still going to be coming out on Monday morning, but they record this on Friday. So from now on, we're just going to let you guys know when we recorded it. There are rare occasions we'll record it on a Saturday or a Thursday, but most of the time it's always on Friday. And this just came out just a few hours. We were getting ready to do the show. And I hope this is a trend. They are changing the name for for the open status in sales orders and purchase orders. So if you have a sales order, the status is no longer going to be open, it's going to be confirmed. And if you have a purchase order, it's not going to be opened, it's going to be issued. And so this is so it basically holds consistency across all the Zoho Finance apps. I think now we need to do that with products and items and some other things there, where you have slightly different naming conventions inside the CRM and the financial suite as well, and some of the financial apps. So this is a good thing, just a small thing, but you're going to notice this change as it comes to these statuses.
That's definitely nice to see. I mean, the thing I would think about that is not every sales order that's created and sent is confirmed, right? So does that mean they're changing any sales order with the status of open is now going to be in a status of confirmed? Because those to me seem like
So
kind of different things, right? Issue for the purchase orders, open versus issued makes sense, but not every sales order that's been sent and is in open status, right, or what was formerly open has been confirmed by the customer, right?
yeah, it's a little different. I really didn't think of it. I just when I pulled this down, but you're right. You almost would want to keep a sales order as just open. I think so, but well, made the change. Nothing says they can't change it back.
Very
Who
true.
knows? Hey, I've got Zapier is pretty nice. I don't think they've had this before. Uh, I thought they did, but I guess they didn't. So I thought it was some interesting things for quite a while using Zapier, where if a file was written to Google Drive, I was writing it to WorkDrive. Evidently, they've made some changes to the trigger. Maybe they've improved it, but they now are at least officially announcing that it's here. Um, I think we most of the time are really using Flow for stuff we're doing with WorkDrive. But there are a lot of applications that aren't supported in Flow, and I think you will actually get them, with Zapier because they've got just a huge number of applications there. So nice enhancement.
Yeah, that's really the main advantage to Zapier. Like if I can ever do something with Flow, I'll use Flow because there's a couple extra little bells and whistles in the world of Zoho that Flow can do that Zapier just can't quite manage. But the advantage with Zapier is, like you're saying, they've just got a massive network of applications that all plug into Zapier. So anytime you see something get a Zapier integration, really what that means is getting an integration with hundreds or probably thousands of different applications that all tie in through Zapier's kind of master framework.
Yep. And then interesting headline that they've got in this article, which is that they are discontinuing Instagram personal profiles. Zoho really isn't doing that. Instagram is because they are changing their API, and so there's some whole deprecation here of that API. But what they're saying is you really shouldn't probably be using an Instagram personal profile on Zoho Social. I think because it's mostly to support businesses. So go ahead and get yourself an Instagram business profile, and then that will be supported. And this whole thing happens relatively quickly, March 20th. So it's March 13th. So a week from today, Instagram is going to stop working on your personal accounts inside Zoho Social. So if you're trying to automate and manage all of your social media inside Zoho Social, you want to make this switch on Instagram. Okay, and rounding out the news, WhatsApp for Zoho Desk. It's in open beta right now, and we've got a link in the show notes. You can go ahead and click it and request access to WhatsApp. We've been talking about WhatsApp quite a lot. It is kind of a de facto method of communication, I think everywhere except the United States. I think it is kind of the main form of communication. And now it is being integrated into Zoho Desk, and pretty interesting. It's powered by Twilio as well.
Which is really odd because normally they all go through the traditional kind of SMS and phone channel. So I'm surprised that it has to be powered by Twilio in the first place. It's odd they didn't just do a direct integration. But that being said, it's definitely nice to have. I mean, one of the big things with customer support and customer service, which is kind of what Zoho Desk is supposed to help you with, is you want to be able to communicate with your customers in their preferred mode of communication, right? So being able to expand what those different modes are that you can use, especially with one that's as widely used as WhatsApp, is definitely nice. And I mean, though it kind of has a huge user base outside of the US, it also is significantly popular and becoming more and more popular inside of the US. So definitely not something to ignore, right, as you look at the different channels that you want to have available for customer support.
I'm blown away. They say 2 billion users worldwide. That's crazy. That's a large number of users. I don't know if we talked about this or not, but I've made a commitment in 2020 to learn Spanish. So I'm actually going down. I live in Southern California, going across the border, going into Ensenada and taking Spanish immersion classes down there on weekends. And the entire form of communication that they want to use is WhatsApp. First thing that came up, we're going to communicate on WhatsApp, and you can pretty much do everything on it, and it's free. And I think that's why it's pretty nice. It's a very nice interface, one of the nicest chat interfaces I've ever used. I never used it until that came up.
Well, it's also owned by, Facebook, and they own Instagram as well. So it kind of got a big bump in popularity through just being the de facto third-party chat for Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. So a little bit more Zoho Desk here. It now integrates with Zoho Inventory and Zoho Subscriptions. This is very similar to how it integrates with CRM, meaning that you can pull the related fields that now sit in inventory and subscription directly into. So while you're looking at a desk ticket, you can look at that relevant information.
Yeah, and that's really, really nice. I mean, we actually set up, I know they had an integration around books already for kind of pulling invoices and sales orders through there. We'd actually set that up for a client, and it's pretty great. I mean, you can, once you identify, right, if someone emails and that email matches a contact or a customer inside of books, being able to see their whole order history just on hand is great. And then when you look at it from subscriptions as well, right, kind of having, if you think about the way that that kind of plugs into the big picture of how you can run a subscription business in Zoho, right? People signing up via subscriptions, they're writing into the CRM. When they contact you through Desk, it can pull any of the info from the CRM. It can pull anything about their subscription itself. Like, kind of makes a nice system around these different applications, once you can plug them all in, and gives you kind of an end-to-end solution for running a subscription business.
Yeah, and I don't know what it says about Zoho here, because I'm always worried, their quest for world domination. But if you look very, very, very closely at this image that are embedded inside of, you'll notice that they're talking about the Z Phone X and Z Pods. So I'm wondering, this could be it. Zoho is going to go up directly against Apple with their own iPhone and their own earpods. This could happen any day now. Why not? I mean,
Yeah, they better watch out.
after Zoho Lens, anything is possible. You
Yeah,
never
Apple
know.
should be put on notice here. They're going to have a strong competitor.
That's right. At bargain prices, they'll dominate Cape in no time at all. And Zoho Marketplace, we got the roundup for February. This is always kind of fun. Normally I think we cover a lot of these, or we try to, but boy, just a whole bunch of applications. 21 new applications, Click SMS, and some big names in here as well. Ring.io got a power dialer. Google My Business integration for Zoho Desk. I looked at this one. This is pretty interesting. I want to say it's $120 a year. It might have been a little more. No, actually, I want to say this one was like $40 or $50 a month. But this basically, if you're really heavy into Google Business and you've got that listing, every single review, every question, all of those tickets get pulled, all those things get pulled direct to Zoho Desk, and you can respond to them and work on them there. So that's kind of a nifty little plugin. Go to Meeting, got some Cliq integration. HubSpot
That's
got
actually
Cliq
real nice.
integration. It is.
I
Is
might
you can
actually
look up
install
a
that GoToMeeting integration for Cliq because Cliq you can do the screen shares through Cliq, but the one thing you can't do with the Cliq screen share is share a specific window. It only share one screen. And what I've noticed as well is I've got two monitors. Anyone watching on the video on YouTube might see I'm looking up and down a lot. And Cliq can only share the window from my laptop. I can't have it share my widescreen window. So actually being able to just start a GoToMeeting through Cliq, I would actually like to do that. So I'm gonna have to take a look at that one and get it installed.
It's a pretty simple slash command. It puts a bot in and you can run it. And so there's a whole bunch of different commands you can do. And they also added GoToWebinar and some Stripe integration. So I
Lots
can't
for
figure out
Cliq
what
this
that is
time
yet,
around, it
but
looks like on this list.
huge Cliq, Pipedrive for Cliq, GitHub for Cliq. So just a whole bunch of stuff. If you look at, and I don't know if this has to do with the fact that basically we're, with all the remote working and the fact that Cliq is a direct Slack competitor. And quite frankly, we didn't talk about this, but if you look at all those applications and remotely, say the single biggest platform that the entire team, our team uses for communication is Cliq. We are, what you say?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the de facto mode for any of us to get in touch with anyone else. We've got different groups for different kind of roles. We've got different channels based on projects, right? If we have kind of a bigger ongoing project, we want to have a specific chat just for that, right? We can spin up like basically our own little internal meetings, right? With multiple people video calling in. I mean, it really, whether we're calling, meeting, or chatting, almost everything goes through Cliq. Even most of our notifications, right, on getting a desk ticket assigned to you or when we close a new deal, all of that just runs through Cliq. So we use almost no email notifications at all and rarely ever communicate internally with the team via email. It's all Cliq all day.
Yeah, and to expound upon what you're saying, you can create discrete groups with 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, 6 people. And so you've got different parts of your organization that need to speak to each other. And you can quickly fire up a multi-group video chat. You just basically click on it and say, fire up a conference call, and it's a video conference call. Everybody's PC ring on, and you're instantly having a nice video conference and be able to go through things. Screen sharing has gotten better and better on it. It works fantastic. And then you say just that individually to have all the both individual and group contacts, and I mean all of the different things. And now, we talked about last week, kind of our tip of the week was that integration of Cliq messages and being able to write them directly to connect as a task. I've used that a couple of times already this week, where you get something in here and say, oh yeah, I want to remind to do that. Well, boom, there you go. Just dead simple. So
Yep.
I love the way they're building it out, and I think there's just a lot of good stuff going to happen there. All right, Tyler. So why don't you show us what we did for the implementation of the week?
Yeah, so for this week's implementation, we actually did one that we built for ourselves here. So kind of a selfish implementation that we needed to put together to make our own lives easier. So it's actually looking inside of the Zenatta CRM itself here. And basically what we needed to do was run an automation that would help us manage our subscription services. So at Zenatta, we actually do sell a monthly subscription, a couple different kinds that offer, ongoing support and reviews of the health of the database, et cetera. And one of the challenges is that, the actual revenue from those is coming from Zoho subscriptions. But for us as a company, we run all of our revenue and profitability reporting out of values that we store in the deal records. So we kind of had this challenge because we needed some way to track revenue on a monthly basis that we're getting from these subscriptions as deals in the CRM. So we ended up settling on a methodology that basically follows two different kinds of deals. So we're looking here at the deal for the subscription itself. So this is kind of like a parent record. And inside of this deal, we may show or we may store things like the info that we need to know about their account in order to do a health check, or we may store information about how many hours they have on file, right? Because any of these subscriptions come with a certain amount of hours monthly that can be used on support, right? And then we want to have a closing date, which basically represents, when this subscription started, right? And so as we kind of look through here, the only other things that we store are the name, the account, the contact, and then the monthly amount that the subscription costs. And so basically all that we need to do is click a button and it'll create the record that we need to actually track our revenue. So I'll go ahead and do that now and then show you what it looks like. So under here, we have a button called HCS Hours. I click that. I get a little pop-up that says our hours are updated, little smiley face because we're happy about that. Now we'll notice that we'll actually have a new record here under Health Check Payments, which is nested underneath this subscription. So rather than being called the subscription, this is actually called the payment of the subscription. And so we'll notice that there's a little difference here where the amount in our deal is stored in monthly amount versus the amount in the health check payment is in the standard amount field. Now, the reason for that is that this standard amount is what we use to calculate all of our revenue. We'll also see that it's considered a completed deal, so it counts as closed won, and it has a closing date of today because that's the day that we're imagining that this payment was made on the subscription, basically that renewal payment. And so the nice thing about this is that in addition to creating the health check payment deal to kind of track our revenue, it also is going to update the total hours that should be on file for this project. So basically right before we clicked this, right, we were at 9 project hours available, right? And we had billed 1 hour, so there are 10 remaining. But now after clicking this button, it goes ahead and adds the additional 2 hours that should be added to the account and keeps our hours remaining calculation accurate moving forward. So it kind of takes care of all of the management of these subscriptions for us, from the attribution of the revenue to the proper month, as well as the tracking of how many hours they have on file that they're due from the subscription. So kind of the last little piece that we're working on is going to be a direct integration into Zoho subscriptions, where upon the renewal of a subscription, this script is actually run automatically, where this payment deal is created and the hours are updated purely by the renewal of the subscription in the actual subscriptions app. So expect an update on that. Our test should be ready to run in about 3 weeks. So that'll be interesting because it'll be kind of the last step here to see if we can just completely automate a subscription management workflow in the CRM and Zoho subscriptions.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to see. And the reason we do this is because we have over a long period of time developed all of our profitability models, all of our costing, everything like that inside of the CRM, inside of deals. One of the things that you'll notice on the screen here is the little hours log, and over in the related lists, this is where all of the hours are tracked, so we can track profitability, we can track all of these kind of things. And so by doing it this way, we're not only keeping our revenue in line, but it's also helping us track our overall profitability. And it's a really slick solution and something that I think we'll be able to use over and over again. You can reimagine the uses of this for just all sorts of things down the line. So really great solution.
Yeah, and it was fun to put together.
All right, so now let's talk about things we noticed. Only one this week, and it's kind of a small one, but it really took me about 15 seconds to figure out what was going on. But I was in Zoho Books, and when I'm in there, I noticed that they had made some changes and that they moved all of the various commands that you can do inside of an invoice, such as print the invoice or get a shareable link for the invoice or record payment. They all used to be over in the upper right-hand corner, and it was kind of a drop down that sat up here, kind of had a little more option. And now that's been moved. So it's now, they all now vertically sit across the, or horizontally sit across the top of the invoice when you're viewing the invoice. So kind of a small little change. I can't find any mention of it anywhere. I can't decide if it's quicker or not. They kind of renamed some things because share used to be called, generate invoice link. It was very clear what that was. And there are some other kind of name changes they put in here, I think just so they could fit them neatly across the top as they put these in. But anyway, that's kind of it. I don't know, Tyler, anything you noticed this week, or is that it?
No, nothing big on mine. I did notice, as a lot of our clients probably did, that the new UI is now available. So that's going to be there for all of the clients. Inside of the record view, there will be a little button to change over to the new UI, but that's about it on my end. And probably something that most of people are noticing as they log into the CRM as well.
Yeah, there were a lot. I actually was getting a lot of calls saying, I haven't gotten it yet. When am I going to get it? When I'm going to get it? And I'm saying, just hang on. And most of the time, I think by the end of Monday, everybody pretty much had it
Gotcha.
across the
So it's a
board.
phase-wide rollout. Yeah.
It took a little while. It wasn't all coming out at the same time. It all came out in one day, though, as far as I can tell. It just took a
Gotcha.
while, and they did fix that issue. It's with
With the text wrapping, yep, they did fix
text
the issue that we
wrapping.
were seeing.
But it was funny. It was not fixed in the morning, but when the rollout hit, it got fixed.
Yeah, so they didn't
So
fix it for us partners on the beta edition, but for the
yeah,
customers, which is
it got
good.
pushed.
Make us beta test it. That's
Yeah,
fine by me.
it worked
But
out
good to see that.
fine.
Yeah, good to see it was fixed before it was rolled out publicly.
All right, and then this week's reads, all from Zoho. Zoho has gone remotely crazy in a good way, actually. And they actually have an entire series of blogs over on their blog, blog.zoho.com, where they are talking about how to work remotely and a variety of things. So, and managing remotely. So 4 articles over there. They've got 2 in this working from home guide, and I think this is going to be a series they're doing. They're by different people. They're both very good. We've got remote collaboration with Cliq, and it's nice. It talks about a lot of things we talked about earlier on the show, some document collaboration basics, and believe it or not, that is not specifically a WorkDrive article. It basically covers a whole lot of things. And then 5 ways to tackle cyber threats from working from home, a guide to managing remote support teams. These actually are very good generic articles. Of course, they touch on Zoho, but some great tips and great advice in these. I don't know if you looked at any of them, Tyler, anything you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I think that one of the ones that I think might be a real concern that keeps people away from working remote is that security question, right? Of is it going to be more or less secure? I mean, nowadays with everything being through the cloud, right, you're really only worried about things at like the access level, which is pretty rare. But honestly, I mean, the best thing that you can do for your security is always going to be having a password manager, using 2FA, right? And kind of using all of those best practices. So, especially following Vault's new and shiny UI that's going to be coming soon. I know they're still in the beta right now, they're doing their beta competition. But a good time to pick up a password manager, especially if you're going to be shifting over to remote work.
Yeah, and they talk about a VPN. I look at this and I think, Zoho doesn't have a VPN, so they might need to add that as a new product, and they don't have a backup solution, so maybe we need to get those in. But they basically cover the nice things. Get yourself a virtual private network. Make sure you got multi-factor authentication. Like you say, their new password manager, secure backup. It's a nice little article, well worth the read. And anyway, good job from Zoho. They're kind of eating their own dog food here and kind of really writing some nice pieces that are really timely all around everything we're going through with everybody working from home. And then over at Zenatta, we've got 2 blogs for you this week. We've got the role of your CRM in customer service and support. So this kind of talks about how you can provide support services using the CRM. And then PaidSense. We haven't done anything on PaidSense, and if you're unfamiliar with it, PaidSense is a small little snippet of code that you embed on your website, And over a period of time, what it will do is it monitors every click, how far people scroll down your website, if they're filling out your forms. You can do A/B testing on various pages, what are getting the most views, what aren't, what's holding people's attention, what's converting, what's not. It's one of those applications that Zoho has that's out there that not a lot of people use, but it's an extremely powerful application. And if you're interested in kind of digging into your website a little more and finding out what's going on when your visitors get there, check out this article. I think you'll find it's a good read.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those tools that once you get the bug, right, and you kind of start playing with it, it can be pretty addicting, right? Because you can run, they basically structure them like experiments, right? So you run an experiment on your website where you change a couple elements or present two different versions, and you get this real-time tracking of all this data that you can use. And cool thing about it is, your website is basically your first impression for a lot of customers. So really taking the time to dial everything in is something that pays dividends, right? Making sure that your contact us form is in the best place, right? Like you want people to click that, right? And if you present two different options, one's in the top left, one's in the top right, and you get a significantly more clicks in the top right, that translates to money over time, right? As more and more people are able to quickly get in touch with you. So it's one of those things that once you kind of get going with it, you can definitely see, actionable insights that it can drive for you.
So Wayne Keene, our director of marketing, and I were talking just the other day, and we've now put in all of our social media applications at the bottom of the website. So it's basically got everything for YouTube, so you can subscribe to our new YouTube channel. One click to subscribe to the podcast on Apple iTunes, one on Google Play. And then, of course, we have Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. And the thing was, I went into PaidSense and I looked, and the 2.2% of the people make it to the bottom of the page. So the odds of those icons being seen down there and people clicking are slim to none. And, we were talking about this, okay, let's move them up, because when we looked at PaidSense, we could see that there was just very little traffic going on at the very, very
Yep.
bottom of our page, because we have a very long website. A lot of things sit on that one page, and you kind of scroll down. So maybe there's some rethinking about, okay, we really do want people to subscribe to the newsletter, and we really do want people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So perhaps we need to move those things more front and center. So we're looking at doing some things around that to do it, and really wouldn't have known how bad the traffic is down there at the bottom of the site unless you had PageSense monitoring it for you.
Yeah, because that's one of those things. Like that's a great example because intrinsically you know that the bottom of the page is going to get less views than the top, right? Just intuitively you know that. But you might think that it's 20% less, 30% less, when in reality only 2.2% in total ever make it down there. So you might think it's a slight difference or like a medium-sized difference, when in reality it's massive. And without
And
actually
we have
getting the real data on it, you're just kind of shooting in the dark using intuition.
Absolutely. And we have thousands of visitors every month that come because of the blogs and because of everything else. And if nobody's making it down to the bottom of the page, well, you've got issues. You don't want to put a key message down there, that's for sure. All right, so let's move on to our application of the week. I am going back in time. So since we have launched on YouTube, this is our second time we're actually doing the show, and we're going to place it on YouTube. I thought it might be good to kind of go back and pull out some of the key applications that we can kind of talk about here. I think because there's a whole new audience that's going to see it. So believe it or not, a love link match. I'm going to talk about it here. I thought, wow, what episode did we talk about this on? Turns out it was episode 1. So the very first episode of the CRM Zen Show on July 2nd, 2018, we pulled this out and we talked about link. We also have a full review of it on the website as well, if you want to read that. And the link to that is in the show notes. But if you are unfamiliar with Link Match, it is a really, really nice application that allows you to go into LinkedIn. And while you are in LinkedIn, you can immediately add any contact that's in LinkedIn directly into your CRM. So I just pulled up my LinkedIn on the screen right here, and I've got this Philip D'Souza, who evidently he's a first level contact of mine, but he's not in the CRM because he basically is not someone that we ever do any business with. And the great thing is you're sitting in LinkedIn and it adds a button directly in the middle of their profile So all you have to do is say, you know what, I would like to go ahead and add him as a contact, and it's going to go ahead and pull all of his information directly out of LinkedIn, all the public stuff out there, and go ahead and pre-populate it. And it'll even pull his email address in if you are connected to them. So if you actually have that level of connection, it will go ahead and pull that email address in, and it'll pull his picture. And once you're done, you just click and say create, and it's going to go ahead and create that contact inside the CRM. And now it's been added. So it's been directly added into your CRM. It's added as a contact. All of that information has been pulled in as well. And you've got everything you really need. So really simple. You're dealing with the prospect. Maybe you've got their email because they've given it to you. You know, because you've got it in an email conversation with them, but you'd like to get the rest of the information. You want to know where they've worked. You want to know about their company. This is a way to really get information in a very concise, clean methodology into the CRM. I cannot recommend this application enough. It is $9.99 per month. You have a free trial that's for 14 days. It saves you just a ton of time. They have a little metric on their website that saves you 2 hours a day. That means you can get 10 more leads per hour. And if you have a 10% conversion rate, then over 30 days, you're going to close 60 new leads. Those are great numbers. Don't know if they're real or not, but you know what? I can tell you it saves you a ton of time getting accurate data into the CRM. And if you're looking for a great tool that works with LinkedIn, Link Match is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we implement this for customers just all the time, right? Just because prospecting on LinkedIn is becoming such a big way to, get qualified contacts into your system, whether they're going to be a new vendor, whether they're going to be just a partner, someone who you might just want to have a good conversation with, right? Or if it's someone that you're really prospecting to sell, any which way that you can get someone into your CRM is great. And this just is going to save you a ton of time.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to our tip of the week. Say no to duplicate records. Oh my, we have got, this is something that I wouldn't think would be a big issue, Tyler, but in fact, it is something that it seems like we run into this all the time.
Yeah, more and more. I mean, it just, especially when it comes to leads, I think those are generally the biggest offender, right? Just because people are working a little less directly on the leads. Maybe they're just getting a drip email, or they're not kind of in the active sales funnel where people are regularly calling them and chasing them down in the same way that you would for like a contact on a deal. But it just seems to be a, continual issue with all of these different records being generated that are duplicates of each other. So, we wanted to just highlight a couple key tips around that. Around maybe making email a unique field, right? Or having some type of field inside of a lead or inside of a contact that defines it as unique. It also gets into how you have forms set up to make sure that forms are coming into Upsert, right? So if you've got a form that is capturing someone's email address, you want to make sure that it's going to look for that email in the CRM and update it if it's already there rather than creating a duplicate. But then once you already have duplicates in the system, things get a little more tricky. And I'll pass it back to you, Brett, to kind of walk through how to resolve it.
Yeah, so if you're listening to the podcast, there'll be a link to this tutorial that will actually be broken out as a separate video that you can find on our YouTube channel as well. But really just dead simple. So this, by the way, is sample data that's been pulled in from Zoho CRM. So you can see I've got two duplicates here. So I've got King and King, and I went ahead and I intentionally duplicated those. And so a couple of things. Number one, if you want to deduplicate your records, there's a couple of things you need to do. You basically can just go ahead and click on deduplicate. So in the upper right hand corner, you get three dots. You click on that and you click on the deduplicate. You get this for leads, you get this accounts, or you get this for contacts. And then you have a choice. You can do it on account name, phone, fax, and website. So if I was to go ahead and do this on account name, and I would just do the old find and merge duplicates, it says it's going to take a few minutes, but since there's only 15 here, it should be relatively quickly. And it's going to come up and say, hey, guess what? we successfully merged 2 accounts. It found 2, they had exactly the same name. It went ahead and merged them. So if I refresh the screen, you will see now I only have 1 king. It will do that for you. If it finds that the record is close, the name's the same, but maybe a couple other things are different, it'll actually flag that and say, hey, take a look at it and see what you can do to go ahead and, maybe it's not a duplicate, maybe there's a reason you want it that way, but you really shouldn't have duplicate accounts. But a couple of things I wanted to point out is that you'll notice when you go to deduplicate an account and you choose that deduplicate an account screen, the defaults are account name, phone, fax, and website. But you actually can have other things, and you can make sure you never get any duplicate accounts. So the way to do this is go into settings, go into modules and fields, and I'm going to go right into accounts, which we've been talking about. So it's settings, modules and fields, and then account. And then you're going to want to click on your standard view. And when you're in here, one of the things you'll see is you have all of the fields that are laid out for you. Well, if I was to hover over the account name and click on the little 3 more dots, one of the things I can say is do not allow duplicate values. And if I do that, it places a little word unique inside that field name for you. And now nobody in your company will actually be allowed to create a duplicate record. It won't allow them. If they type in the same exact name for a company, it's going to say this already exists. You can't do that. And you can make most fields unique if you need to. So when you're looking at contacts, by all intents and purposes, the mobile number should be unique, the email should be unique, and if you make those unique, it won't allow the person to technically dedupe that record. The other interesting thing about this is if you have a field that should be unique in your industry, for example, they've got one that comes the standard, which is ticker symbol here. So if I go into the ticker symbol and I say do not allow duplicate values, and now I go ahead and I save this record and I save and close it. If I go back to that same account screen and I now want to deduplicate these records, it's going to actually throw the ticker symbol as one of the things I can deduplicate off of because should be a specific unique record. These also, it really doesn't matter there, but where this really becomes important for you is when you're doing imports and updates. When you make a field unique, it also allows you then to tag off of that field as the field to look at a record to make sure that this is how you find that record when I'm updating a record, or don't import this record if this field matches. You can only do it on uniques. So again, we say no to duplicate records because they do nothing but cause pain and heartache. And I think Tyler, we've seen enough of it. And if there's anything we can do to spread the word and just kind of start doing these basic things, it's going to make your CRM clean. And at the end of the day, I think you're just going to be a lot happier across the board with the quality of your CRM and the way your people can work in the CRM and the quality of that data that you're going to be able to get out.
Yeah, the big thing that comes down to it too is just that if you've got 2 versions of an account, maybe people are storing data in one and not the other. Maybe you've got related list items like tasks or calls or meetings that really should be under the account, but you're not seeing them because they're under the other, right? So when you have these duplicates, you can lose a lot of the contextual information that, the CRM is kind of designed to provide for you. So though it seems like a minor annoyance, it can actually have a significant impact on, how easy and effective it is to work inside of the CRM. The worst thing in the world is to know that you filled out this field, to know that you had a conversation with someone and you definitely collected, their budget, right? But then you pull up the account, you pull up the contact, and that budget field's empty, because you're looking at the wrong version of John Smith. So you want to just try to avoid that situation ever happening.
And that's a wrap. If you've got questions or comments, be sure to send them over to us at info@zenatta.com or just head over to the website and click on drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with the links to the stories that we discussed today. And you can also follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube to see the full video version of these podcasts. We'll be posting tons of different content over on the YouTube channel, like little tips and tricks videos, the full podcasts and the implementations that we do. So we'd love for you to stop over there and give us any feedback on how to make those videos even better. Until then, we'll see you next Monday.